I'm coming to you from a parking lot in the early morning. Hey, I wanted to talk to you today about one habit that will absolutely change everything. It'll change your marriage, it'll change your ministry, it'll change your relationship with your kids and with your friends. So let me set this up by saying, when I was in high school, I was literally late for everything. I can remember just about every day of high school showing up late or getting there just barely in time, and the amount of stress that put on my life to wake up and feel like I had to hit the ground running, because I did, to get to school on time, and then rolling into a class and being almost in a pant to be able to get there. So I made a conscious decision, I think about midway through my senior year of high school, which, kids, was a long time ago, that I wasn't going to be late anymore. And over the years, that decision has developed into a life principle where I am literally never late. In fact, I'm standing outside of a Cracker Barrel here in Atlanta, and I'm an hour early from my meeting. And I try to show up for meetings. My first meeting of the day, when I have them, I try to show up an entire hour early, and then I try to be 10 to 15 minutes early for every other meeting throughout the day. And here's the thing, that's a habit that will absolutely change your life, but not just because of that habit, because here's what I try to do with that time, and this is the game changer. I try to spend that time creating what I call spiritual margin. Years ago, I realized with my daughter, when she was just a baby, she's 17, we're looking at colleges now, I realized that the only way I could really get quality time with her was to put quality time or quantity of time with her. So we do dates and hang time and trips together, all of that. I needed to create an abundant amount of time in order to get those moments where we had a heart connection. I think the same is true in my relationship with the Lord. So I try to create a lot of margin in my schedule so that I can show up places early and spend some time with the Lord. That spiritual margin, spending quantity of time so that I get the quality of time that I need, that spiritual margin is what has changed my life, and I built it into my calendar day in and day out. Do I always live by it? Absolutely not. And sometimes I get to places and I don't do what I had planned to do when I got there. But most of the time, when I show up early, I'm thinking through a question that God's put in my heart. And this morning, it's simply this question: if the Lord builds a house, if the Lord doesn't build your house, the builder labors in vain. I'm failing on the scripture right now, but unless the Lord builds a house, the builder labors in vain. So I'm going to sit down in front of Cracker Barrel in a rocking chair and just kind of think through, what does that mean? And for business owners and ministries, what does it mean to let the Lord build your house? And how do you know if he hasn't, right? If you don't have an answer to that question. So that's what I'm going to sit and ponder in my margin this morning as I'm waiting on my breakfast. Let me just end by saying this. That may not be a revelation to you, but I think if you don't have enough of that margin in your life, you could be building your house by yourself, laboring in vain. One last thing I wanted to tell you about that. I am never late. I tell people, if we're going to meet and you get there and I'm not there, I ain't coming. So you need to text me, because you will not beat me there, okay? I know that's a bold statement. It sounds kind of cocky, but the reality is I'm never late, and I don't miss meetings because of this principle, because I want to spend this time with the Lord. Now, let me tell you how I deal with people that do run late, and I got quite a few of them in my life. Between the time that they are supposed to be there and they actually show up, okay, so they're due but not present, okay, between that time and when they show up, I call that a grace period, Pastor, or whoever's listening to this. That is a grace period. What does it mean to live in the grace period? To live in the grace period means that between the time that something is due and when you're responsible for it. We are living in the grace period. Between the wages of sin is death, that's due, but we're not yet accountable. We're living in the grace period. And when somebody's late on me, that's what I just sit there and ponder. What does it mean to live in the grace period, and how can I be thankful for that? So in reality, when people are running late, it actually makes me more grateful for the season that we're living in. Hey, Pastor, if you want to know more about what Pastor Lawson and I are doing with 24 to Double, just head over to 24trial.com. That's 24trial.com, and I'll drop that in the comments below. Head on over there, and everything you need to know about what we're doing with this 2-year whole church discipleship model is right there on that page. We hope to see you in 24 to Double. If not, I'll catch you probably tomorrow on another live stream. Thanks for being with me.